We're breaking things down today in regards to Social Security benefits, and it's probably one of the most important things that you have to look at. Most people make huge mistakes when it comes to claiming benefits because, right, hey, I turned 62 or hey, I retired, might as well start claiming it, start getting the checks in, but you might want to take a step back and do a little bit planning. Because if I look at this, 50% of couples, 50% of their income, right? If a married couple, if they're spending X, 50% of those discretionary income or fixed income sources have to come from Social Security. If you're unmarried, 70% of unmarried people, 50% of their income is coming from Social Security. And then if I look at 21% of married couples, almost 100% of the income that they're living off of is their Social Security benefit. Unmarried, it's almost 50%. So for people that are single, married, it doesn't matter. This is truly important stuff here. Let's bring in the big man, Big Al Clopine, to break things down.
Today we're going to talk about boosting your benefits, making the most out of Social Security. So I guess the first thing is, how do you qualify? First of all, you got to work 10 years in the Social Security system. And most jobs are in the system. A few government jobs are not, but most do. So the way that the Social Security Administration looks at it, they go by quarters, so 40 quarters or 10 years. The earliest age you can collect is age 62, and then in some cases, well, in all cases with spouses or survivors of eligible workers, you could claim based upon their benefit as well. So, Joe, it's, like we said, the majority of people will get some sort of Social Security benefit.
Yeah, I mean, the whole 10 years or 40 quarters is a little bit confusing as well. It's like, well, what actually constitute as a quarter? And it's basically, an earned income credit, if you will. And so I think in 2020, it's about $1,400. You get that credit for a quarter, or $1,400 or almost $1,500 in 2021 now. So it's not like you have to work a significant amount of time or make a ton of money to get that quarter.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Joe. And I think that probably the $1 million question is, what am I going to get in Social Security benefits? So I guess the best way to figure that out, some of you, I think when you're 60 and older, you get statements each year. But many of us don't. And so you can actually go on the Social Security website, which is ssa.gov. You can actually sign up an online account, and you can look at your statement at any time that you want. So it'll tell you what your benefits will be at various ages of collecting. And so the way that they do the calculation is they take your highest earnings over 35 years. And so for those of you that have worked less than 35 years, then some of those years will be factored in as zero. So the more years that you work and have wages, the higher the benefit's going to be. And Joe, they have a primary insurance amount where they sort of calculate how this is, what your benefit's going to be.
Yeah, because it's inflated, right? Because what you were making 35 years ago and what you're making today is totally different, right, in regards to raw numbers. So they put an inflation factor on. So let's say you were making $30,000 30 years ago. That's probably equivalent of $130,000 today. So they cap us out, too, at a certain level. So you pay Social Security tax for your retirement benefit up to a certain level, and then you don't put it into the system anymore. And when you look at that, you're like, okay, well, what is my benefit going to be? Well, first, you want to check your record. So go to ssa.gov, look at your earnings record just to make sure that it's accurate. I know you have to go through records. It's 35 years of earning history, but then they use an inflation factor to find out what your primary insurance is. So you look at, all right, well, now I know what my benefit is. But what Social Security is meant to do, it's not meant to replace 100% of your income. For lower wage earners, it was meant to replace a lot of those incomes. But as median incomes, large incomes, really large incomes, Social Security, depending on where you fall on the scale, is not going to replace 100% of the income. And here's a chart here, Al.
Yeah, and I think that's important to say, because you can see for the lower wage earners, they're not going to get full replacement, but maybe they'll get maybe up to half or even a little bit more. But then as you make more and more money, yes, you do get a higher benefit, but the amount of Social Security doesn't maintain it. And there's a reason for that. It's Social Security is meant to keep you out of poverty. So that's why it doesn't necessarily keep up. Joe, I guess, when you get your Social Security statement, and you take a look at it, it gives you amounts that you're going to be collecting at various ages. Typically, they start with your full retirement age, and then they also talk about collecting early, which is age 62, and then also at age 70, which is later. And it's pretty interesting how different the amounts are. In other words, if you collect at age 62 an early amount, we got an example of someone would be collecting about $1,500. If they wait till full retirement age 160, and age 70, $2,700 plus. And so if you go from age 62 to age 70, you're increasing your benefit by about 80%. So it's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, it's almost a 100% increase in your overall benefit if you wait. But I understand it's like, well, no, I need the cash flow now. But you want to do some planning here, because you're taking it at 62. Just understand that you're receiving a lot lower benefit, and that's locked in for the rest of your life. So if you can wait, if you can find other means to cover your living expenses, because I think we all feel, hopefully, that we're going to live a long time. And so by waiting for that Social Security benefit, you're locking in a lot higher benefit for the rest of your life. And if you're married, and if you were to pass away prematurely, well, then the surviving spouse would also receive potentially that higher benefit. So there's a lot more planning to do in regards to collecting your benefit versus like, hey, I'm 62, let's go, push the button, and let's live happily ever after. Because it could not necessarily be happily ever after, because you could be living a lot more happy if you had a little bit more cash. So, hey, we got to take a quick break. Go to our website, yourmoneyyourwealth.com. We do have a Social Security handbook to walk you through all of the different strategies, how you're eligible, what it takes, and all the ins and outs. So go to yourmoneyyourwealth.com, click on our special offer. It's our Social Security handbook.
Are you prepared for retirement? Schedule a free financial assessment with an experienced financial professional right online at purefinancial.com.